Hello and welcome, my friends. It's me, Jennifer from Mystic Star. I want to welcome you guys to my step 2 in my Crystal 101 series. Today, we're going to look at that crazy, mysterious thing called a crystal grid. Now, you may have seen pictures of them. They're beautiful, they're colorful, and they look hard to do. They're really not. Today, I want to break it down for you so that you can take what crystals you currently have and start to use them in a different way. Now, you can get some pretty big crystal grids. You don't need massive pieces. You can take, like what I have here, this is called sacred geometry. Okay, this one's a very common one you see. Okay, this one's Metatron's cube. This one's called the seed of life. There's also the flower of life. These are common pieces. This is just a normal 8.5 by 11 piece. You can even bring it down and make it smaller than this. Size does not matter. What is gonna matter is how big your crystals are. You don't want a massive crystal on a small grid, and you don't want like a tiny itty bitty crystal on a big grid. So you can decide what size you need. Then you just need your crystals and intention. Intention is going to be a big piece. So when you're looking at doing your crystal grid, you can go through and figure out what kind of fun pattern, if you will, looks good. Which one speaks to you? You could go in as each of these sacred geometry pieces have a meaning. So for example, Metatron's cube, which was created by Archangel Metatron, it's a symbol of how the universe was born. It represents balance, harmony, creative opportunities, and energy flow throughout the universe. This is a great piece for healing and purifying energies. Whereas the seed of life, which is a part of, it's a smaller part of the flower of life, it's the basic template for creation. It represents the connection between all living beings and life itself. It can also represent the mathematical and logical order of the natural world, or symbolizes the law of nature. So depending on what you want to do, you may want to connect into different aspects of each of these sacred geometry pieces. Looking at what it is you need help with, and that's what the crystal grids do. They help us with an aspect of something. Just like if you had a piece of crystal, it does something. And there's a long list of what many of these crystals will help out with. They naturally amplify certain energies. Something like this clear quartz amplifies energies on its own. So you then go through and say, okay, this is what type of crystal grid I'd like. I want to work on, let's say, healing and loving self. That's a good one, right? So we can go in. Let's do this together. Because we're looking at healing, we're going to pick Metatron's cube. Now I'm going to try something new and exciting. I have a separate camera. Line that up. There is a Metatron's cube. We don't need to know all the ins and outs. We don't need to go through what all the different circles represent. That's too much right now. We're starting out, okay? So starting out, what we're going to do is we want to start in the center. The center is your focal point. Now, this is where you want to get a unique piece, whether it be something like a heart-shaped crystal or a pyramid or a point. It's up to you. You could even do something as fun, and I'm going through my crystals that are in my drawer that are always beside me here. I'm going to put this little stand, and I want this little circle here. Okay? So nothing extraordinary. And I have no idea what crystals are left in my drawer because my kids know where my crystals are and they disappear. So we're going to go through this together just as I would if I was creating a crystal grid, except I'm not going to have to go searching for crystals. I'm going to use what I have at hand. So the focal point is, well, the center of your crystal grid, and you go through and you build off of it. This crystal is usually a bit of a bigger piece or out of a more ornate piece. So if you have like a crystal that's been carved into a certain shape, that would be a good crystal to put in the middle. If not, you can use just a bigger piece, or if you just have, say, one crystal. It's okay. Just put any crystal you have in any way, shape, or form. Okay? It's going to matter what kind of crystal it is. Now, say if we were doing something that was to do, I don't know, with, say, grounding or an influx of money, like an increase of money. And you may not have that specific kind of crystal to increase that wealth. You don't necessarily have to use, like, this is a rose quartz again. You could use something as simple as a clear quartz, which is a natural amplifier. You may have smaller crystals that would signify that increase in wealth or that increase in stability. You can then build off of it. The clear quartz is a natural amplifier, so the other smaller pieces, the ones that build up around it, think of it as the spokes of a cog, and it just kind of pushes all the power from the outside in and up and around. Okay? So if all else fails, go with a clear quartz in the middle. But if you have that specific piece, like I do here, is I've got a pink quartz, I'm going to go with it there. So now that we know that we want to work on self-love, what we want to do is start to put the crystals around. So these are all little pieces of pink quartz or rose quartz that I have. Let's see, I think I have a couple more here. Here's another one. See, like I said, I'm just going through and seeing what I have in my drawer. Pink quartz is rose quartz is one of the ones that I know that I have right at hand. So what I've done here is I've gone out through the through the outer rim. I wanted to put rose quartz there because that spoke to me. I set the intention that I want to increase that self-love. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that we have more rose quartz. Now, depending on the amount of crystals that you have, you may need to bring it down a little bit. You may not have all these pieces. Like you may not have 6 pieces of rose quartz. You could take a couple pieces of the rose quartz off and add something that would speak similarly. So if you wanted to add some clear quartz, you could do that. Or if you wanted to add pieces of citrine or carnelian, you can start to mix and match the different spokes, if you will. Let's see here. What do I have? This is the biggest piece. I don't know what I currently have in my, okay, yep, here we go. So here's an amethyst piece. Do I have another amethyst? I do. The important aspect here is going to be balancing them out. You want balance. So if you say only had a couple pieces of rose quartz, or if you had like little pieces of rose quartz, like I said, it's not as impactful if you have these little tiny pieces. So you might want to add, okay, so I've got the pink quartz and the amethyst. What else do I have that would balance out, that would look, well, good, and that would kind of help amplify what I'm trying to say? And I would suggest making sure that you have the pieces drawn out, so you can map it out before you start to draw it through. Unlike me, who's kind of going through my drawer as I speak. So that's carnelian. So amethyst can help with that healing. It can help with that calming of the mind. It's a nice, calming, gentle crystal. So what would happen if you didn't have any little pieces? You had like one piece of rose quartz. That's okay too. You can add in, say, something that's going to support with the healing. Like, what else do I have here? A lot of my healing crystals have decided to disappear. Okay. So that's healerite, some fuzz, some jade. So you can see how you can start to make it very personalized. What aspects do you want to add in? You can add in multiple different crystals in different types. Ideally, you want the same, but if you're in a pinch, you could try and do something like that. I know I have more of this, but it's not in my drawer, so we're going to have to go with it. You could also add, if you didn't have the same, you could go with a different feel to the reading to add some ground stability. Again, the most important piece is the balance. You want to make sure that the arms are all balanced out, so you're drawing that energy up and through. Right. So let's go back with some rose quartz there. I don't really like the feel. And that's another piece. You're going to kind of get the energy flow of how this is, jigging out and flowing. And you can change and alter it. So you've got this outer ring and this inner ring, or this inner circle. You could leave it like that and it would work well. Or you could add something like, here we go, some selenite. I have lots of little pieces of selenite here. And again, what you want to do is make sure that you've kind of got a bit of a balanced size to your, I don't have any more on that size. You want that balance. Balance is going to be important. The rest of these bars are too big. They wouldn't fit. So you can add some selenite. That's a fantastic one. You can also, if you want, see these in my drawer, I also have little pieces of clear quartz. And you can see how the picture can start to change and evolve. Now, these little ones that you have, and a lot of us do have these littler pieces, you can add them. They don't necessarily have to go in a circle. They can go, say, in on different lines or different intersections. And you can do a lot of different research on these different geometry shapes. There's a lot of information, and it can easily become overwhelming. To start off, though, you want it easy and, most importantly, fun. But again, the most important piece is that balance. You want it to be harmonious. You want it to be, well, equal. And we talk a lot about the balance in general. I encourage balance throughout my sessions. And you can add and subtract. No, that doesn't feel right. And when I say it doesn't feel right, when you put it down, it might seem like a good idea, but then you put it in, you're like, no, I don't like that. So you can use that. You can use your intuition. You can put it down and you can try. And if it fails or doesn't feel right, you can go in and say, I don't think so. So you've got this pretty crystal grid. What you want to do is you can take your finger, if you have like a crystal wand, so it's a point, something like this, you just want to start to swirl the energy. You want it to come in and up. Setting the intention of what you want your crystal grid to do, right? You want it to heal. You want it to support you. You want it to work on your heart chakra. You want it to draw love in. What is this crystal grid doing for you? And then let it sit for a little while. My suggestion, if you have children or pets, put it in a space that they're not going to disrupt it. And people say to me all the time, oh, I've got a cat or I've got a dog who'd never touch it. Be surprised. These crystals, they have energy, they vibrate, they look very different to an animal than what they do to us. I've seen people who make these elaborate crystal grids swearing to me that their cat would never touch it. Their cat comes in, paddles in, and moves things around as the cat wants the energy. So be mindful. Children, of course, will come in and say, oh, pretty. And then your crystal grid is broken. Okay. When you're breaking down your crystal grid and after you've used it, you can go in and I would clear and cleanse your crystals. And it's a good idea, guys, when you're starting this out to clear and cleanse your crystals before. All right. Because you're asking the crystals to work together and do a piece of work for you. It's an easy process to do. Things like incense work well. I'm a Reiki master, and of course, that's my go-to for crystals. You Reiki that, and it is good as gold. And then also making sure that you thank any and all high vibrational beings that supported you in that piece of work. I would encourage you, when you're setting the intention for the crystal grid, open it up to any and all high vibrational beings that can support you for your greater good, for what it is you want to do. It will help you so very much when it comes to getting that job done and getting it done in a way you never expected. Before we wrap up, I do want to add in that I do have a Crystal 101 that talks about the different crystals that I would recommend. There is a link below to that, so you can go in and check into what crystals you may need or may want for a certain crystal grid that can help you out with a certain aspect. Also, if you want to make one of these crystal grids, I have a link below. These sacred geometry pieces are not copyrighted. I have put a PDF of the Seed of Life and also, of course, the Flower of Life and Metatron's Cube, so you can print them off. And they are in this bigger format, but feel free to print it half size. It's going to really just depend on the size of your crystals. And making a crystal grid with huge crystals isn't necessarily going to make it more powerful. It can make it more cumbersome, and it's going to take up a lot of room. And that's another piece. You're going to have to put it somewhere, right? And people do use it as a like a focal point on a coffee table or something like that. But the more people who interact with your crystal grid, the more energy disruption you're going to have. You can go in there and get these PDFs so that you have them available for you. So when you do want to create a crystal grid, they're there in your toolbox. So you can just print them off. And if you're not able to print them off, that's okay. You don't necessarily need to use it. It's just a handy guide, especially as you start off. I know that there's a lot of crystal grids that don't have anything. They're just the shape on a table. That's really pretty. But at the same time, as you're starting off, you may want that intersection or where that circle is so you can space things out so you have that symmetry. Now, I know I just sent a lot of information at you. If you have any questions, please feel free to write it below or message me. I will do my best to respond as quickly as I can to answer your question to the problem. I will do my best to respond as quickly as I can to your question so that you can get your crystal grids up and rolling. All right. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I know it was a lot of information in a condensed period of time. However, I wanted you to have this so that you're able to start playing with it. Don't be afraid of this. It's not anything that's too technical. It's more creative, more fun, and it's another way you can work with energies to your advantage. Like always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It does help people find me on the sea of YouTube. And more importantly, if you like the video and you want more support in crystals, in tarot, I've got all sorts of 101s out there. Please subscribe and hit that little red bell. I'm live at least once a week, if not more. And then I also have a tool support for you guys on Tuesday. So there's lots coming out and on random days. So making sure you're connected so you don't miss out on any of it. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me and enjoy your crystal gridding. Until tomorrow, my friends.